Donkey Kong Bonanza has a lot of really cool fun details that you might have missed through your initial playthrough. So today we're looking at cool details and things about the game that you might have missed. Before we get started, of course, I have to give a warning because there will be some slight spoilers with the game. I mean, some pretty decent ones. Nothing super crazy, but still spoilers. So please make sure you finish the game before you watch this video. Real quick, guys, you guys just helped us reach our mini goal of 370,000 subscribers as we make our way to our journey to 400,000 by the end of the year. This actually looks like it might happen if you guys just continue to show support. So now we move on to 380,000 subscribers. Let's see how many new ones we can get on this video alone. So make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. Now let's dive into some details and facts about Donkey Kong Bonanza that you probably missed. One thing that I thought was cool is when you fall through to a new layer, you can actually see the hole that you're falling through from that layer's ceiling. But if you stop and turn the camera up, you can see more details around that ceiling hole, which is very unique, and each floor has a unique one. The lagoon layer not only has a hole, but it has a giant whirlpool dripping water down to the lower levels. Also, when you see the hole that you actually fell through, you'll notice it's actually shaped like the head of a chimp. Obviously, since the lagoon layer is full of monkeys, and it's one of the only holes that has a shape based on the animals of that region. In the freezer area, you can barely see a giant pipe that you fell out of that's surrounded by a bunch of lights at the top. The jungle area has a giant tree base sticking out of the ceiling, and you can see out of the roots that you fell right through the base of the tree. In the junction area, you can see both holes as you go through the jungle area and the freezer area, which is just cool to see that Nintendo incorporated both holes. And you can also see a giant swirly cloud from where Void Code dug through, and you can even see the giant hole that they left through the ground where they continue digging. The beach area has giant banana-shaped clouds that you can see in the sky, and also a banana chip for the sun that's shining, but the hole is right above both of them. Another cool one to look at is in the Forgotten Pit. It has a warm golden light falling through some banana statues carved into the rocks. The Shed Light Cave is also a really cool one, which has a lot of marbling rocks swirling up through the cave entrance, and you can see the beams of light coming in from the previous layers. The Jail Hall is just one clean giant tunnel that you fell through with a bright light. The Feast layer has a basic one, but it looks really cool in the contrast of the darker ceiling. Shuffling Shaft in the Forbidden layer has a giant clean hole with bananium roots that climb all the way throughout the cave entrance. And when you get to the Kremlin Courtyard, you can't really see anything. It's pitch black down there, so you can't really see where you fell through. Fossils in the game can range from real life ones to even ones that reference past Donkey Kong Country games, but those are the ones that we want to talk about here. Each of the fossil descriptions actually teases the name of that creature within its description. For instance, it says preserved bug, natural resin that solidified into a jewel after trapping an insect. Having a few of these puts some zing into a collection, because this is a zinger bee from Donkey Kong Country. For the beaver, it states, this naughty buck-toothed critter lived in all sorts of places, from jungles to ancient ruins, which are classic locations from Donkey Kong Country, and obviously naughty being the name of the beaver. For pig, it says it's unclear why this polite porker lived in the jungle, but he's always had the chops to help a Kong in need. He was a checkpoint flag guy from Donkey Kong Country Returns. His name was Chops. For spider, it says the webs this squiddish spider spat out were sturdy enough to stand on. He was an animal buddy named Squitter who shot out spiders who could walk across them. Next up, we have a frog, and it says identifiable by its red or green molted skin. It could leap startling distances in the wink of an eye, because his name was Winky. For anglerfish, it says glimmered in illuminated dark waters with its bright lantern. It's said to have lived mostly within sunken ships. These sunken ships is exactly where you'd come across the animal buddy Glimmer. Then we have swordfish. In water, one had to stay on their guard around the fish's notably sharp nose. On land, it would struggle and flop around. This is On Guard, the swordfish animal buddy. Next, we have the banana bird from Donkey Kong Country 3. Small birds that had the coloration and possible texture of a banana. They were trapped and crystalled long ago. This is where you actually would find and break them free from crystals in the game. You have armadillo. These critters rolled into balls to defend their turf. Some of them with military training simply carried cannons instead. Military training referencing their name as Army. We have sea urchin, covered with spikes on the outside yet tasty on the inside. It often fell prey to swordfish while lurching and vulnerable. This could be a reference to the Lurchin sea urchin enemies, or Barbos, the name of the boss Lurchin from Donkey Kong Country 3. It even talks about the other naughty beaver boss fights that we had in Donkey Kong Country, saying there used to be a red, gold, and enormous variants. If angered while tottering, it was capable of making huge leaps as they would hop around in the boss battle. We have some references to the old tire, which you could actually move around and jump on as a platform in the game. Also an old television, which could be seen in the inside of Donkey Kong's hut. And then we have a robot that says a chaotic robot that spoke and acted independently, created by a maverick scientist using his wife's pots and pans. This is a reference to Chaos the robot, which was the first version of the final boss and a mid-game boss in Donkey Kong Country 3. It's even said from K. Rool in that game that he used his wife's pots and pans in order to construct Chaos. And we even have some classic arcade DK references with an 8-bit barrel that states, "A constant in the life of Kongs. Every new generation learns how to roll, throw, and blast themselves out of these." And then we have 8-bit items, a fancy hat, purse, and parasol from days gone by. They may have been left behind by an elegant lady. This is referencing the original OG Pauline called Lady, which actually had a fancy hat, purse, and parasol items that Mario or Jumpman could actually collect for her. And then we have an 8-bit DK, a certain Kong in the prime of his youth. His amazing skill at handling barrels has been passed down to his descendants. This is actually referencing the original DK, which is in fact Cranky Kong back in the day in the arcade version of Donkey Kong. Did you know that some animal buddies down in the depths actually have clothes and outfits made out of material and rocks that you can find in the game? If you high-five them, it'll actually break it off of their bodies, revealing their clothes that's underneath, which is pretty strange, but you can do it to almost every single animal buddy in the game. Did you know that you can actually throw things into the barrels that's scattered around the different levels? Besides jumping in them, you can throw rocks that will actually cause chain reactions and blow up other rocks. And you can even throw things like boxes in there as well. And yes, that even includes the giant turntable CD that you can pick up and throw. DK has a trip animation that's more like a startling warning animation, because instead of just being afraid and leaning over the edge, he actually makes a scary face and backs up from the ledge, which is something I haven't really seen in a video game. Here's a pretty interesting one. Did you know if you punch anything in the game that's actually made out of food, Donkey Kong will have an eating animation where he'll actually start chewing down on whatever you punch. For instance, there's a whole area called the Feast layer, which allows you to punch through a giant bacon cheeseburger. You can punch the cheese, lettuce, tomato, meat, even the bun and the fries around it and eat it, but for some reason you can't eat the bacon. It shows that that's not real bacon, that's just rocks. But oddly enough, this game shows that bacon cheeseburgers aren't good for you, because when you're punching through the cheeseburger, you don't gain any health, stamina, or anything. It's just simply a animation that you get. However, if you go to the beach area and punch the fruit in order to eat, like this giant watermelon, he'll actually have the eating animation again, and it will give him life back, which is pretty hilarious. It's almost like a subtle way of Nintendo saying, hey, eat your fruits and vegetables, kids. Also, when you're punching through watermelon, you'll notice that black seeds actually have their own particle effects and will fly out once you start digging. Did you know Donkey Kong Bonanza actually has a turnaround roll jump, which I didn't even realize until halfway through the game. If you quickly turn around when running, you'll do a quick little drift slide, and you can actually jump immediately after to do a little slide roll jump, and when you hit the ground, it'll send out a sensor shockwave and also just a straight up powerful shockwave to break things near you. It's a pretty cool little addition and something that I really didn't even notice until the 2D sections, which also has the same feature. And last but not least, here's a crazy thing that you can actually do with the Fracttones in the game. You can pick up pieces of terrain that's not hard, kind of like dirt and soil and grass, and you can chuck it at them and it actually will stick to their bodies. Now, you can't form an absolute abomination, for instance. It only lets you go out a certain amount. I try to fill the whole stage with them, but there's like a almost 3D cube that it makes around him until it prevents you from adding any more to certain spots. But you can pretty much just build all the way around him, and you can even climb and jump all over it. Now, if you want to break him free, you can actually punch through, and the spots that you added will not grow back, but it's still funny that you can just mess around with these guys. You can also make them go blind. If you throw a piece of terrain in the front of their face, it will make their eyes disappear, which is kind of freaky, but once again, don't worry, because you can break all those pieces apart to once again allow them to see. So Have fun with the Fractones, but try not to bully them too much. And those were some cool things that you might have missed in Donkey Kong Bonanza. If you guys have some cool facts or details about the game that you want featured in a future episode, all you have to do is comment the word Bonanza in big capital letters down below, followed by your cool detail or fact. It could be anything about the game that you think could be really cool for a video. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out, and like always, I'll see you all in the next one, and I hope you all have a blessed day. See you guys.